Our first speaker for this evening is going to be Dan Grimshaw, and he's a candidate for the 84th District. Dan, do you want to come up?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Grimshaw. I'm here to welcome you to Vassar. As a lifelong resident of this town, I grew up here, went to high school here, spent my entire career here, and have a company located in downtown Vassar that is based on research I do title insurance, and my job is to determine what facts are. I'm here tonight because I want to know what the facts are. Not emotion. I want to know the facts so that we make a rational decision of what we need to do. That's what we're here for. I'm not here for politics because we've had enough of that. I'm here because we need to know what's going on and let the decisions be made that are best for all of us. Thank you for coming. I hope that this will be beneficial to all of you, and when you leave here, you'll be able to say you know more after you've been here than when you arrived. Thank you.
Okay, a couple little housekeeping things I missed a little earlier. We're going to ask everybody that, again, we're trying to get some information out. If you have a cell phone, we're going to ask that you please turn it either off or turn on vibrate so we don't interrupt any of our speakers. And also, we are passing out some 3x5 cards. Now, there will be no questions tonight, but what we're going to do is we're going to take your questions, we're going to sort through them, categorize them, and we're going to try to get all these questions answered. And we're going to get these publicized and get you the answers to them. So if you, as you go through the evening, if you think of a question, if something jumps out, write it down. There's 3x5 cards floating around the rooms, around the room, and we'll do our best to get those answered. Again, it will not be tonight. We're just getting the information tonight. All right, our next speaker is Mr. Tom Wassar. He's going to be speaking to us. He's a candidate for the 84th District. So Tom, go ahead, come on.
Hello, my name is Tom Wassar. I'm going to cover some constitutional issues, specifically dealing with the U.S. Constitution and Michigan laws. The action of the President of transporting people into the interior of the U.S. is being done in order to achieve his immigration agenda. Absence of acts from Congress to change current laws. In order for us to understand what we can do as a state, we must first understand the Constitution and the role of the federal government, and the role of the state. First and foremost, the Constitution was designed to restrict the federal government to perform certain tasks on behalf of the states. We often forget that Michigan is a sovereign country, and just because Michigan joined the Union, we did not give up our sovereignty or independence. As explained by Alexander Hamilton in the Federalist Papers, he wrote, "But as the plan of the convention aims only at partial union or consolidation, the state governments would clearly retain all the rights of sovereignty which they had before. Under the U.S. Constitution, the Congress has been delegated the authority to establish the uniform rule of naturalization. This is a process for an alien to become a U.S. citizen. The Constitution does not provide any provisions in regard to border or the entry into the state. We are led to believe that only the federal government can protect our borders, which just isn't true. Here in Michigan, I personally, as a state officer, have been sent to the border of Michigan and Canada to monitor the hazardous waste traveling from Canada and into the state. I have witnessed federal border officers calling Port Huron Police Department to come to the Blue Water Bridge to effect an arrest relating to state law. Clearly, the states have the authority over the state's borders. In Michigan, the governor has the authority over our Michigan National Guard, and the state of Michigan has used its army in the past to defend their borders. Between the time period of 1835 and 1837, the governor of Michigan called on the militia to defend the border of Michigan. This dispute was over the territory called the Toledo Strip, in which Ohio was staking claim to. The state of Ohio also sent its militia to the area to defend their borders. Today, we cannot fathom these events, especially the calling up of our army to possibly engage in battle with our neighboring state. The federal government had a limited role in this dispute, and the state had authority within the federal and within their state constitution to act in the manner they both did. Remember, the federal government was set up to perform limited tasks for and on behalf of the states. The federal government was never given control over or any dominance over the state except in those instances outlined in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. Nothing to date has changed. Likewise, Michigan's authority is outlined in Michigan's Constitution. Under Michigan's Constitution, the states, as outlined in the Constitution, all political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for their equal and benefit, security, and protection. The legislative branch also has authority over public health and general welfare. As stated in the Michigan Constitution, the public health and general welfare of the people of the state are hereby declared to be a matter of primary public concern. The legislature shall pass suitable laws for the protection and promotion of the public health. Military powers under Michigan Constitution clearly outlines the governor shall be the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and they may call them out to execute the laws, suppress insurrection, and repeal invasion. Further, Michigan law states the governor may order to active service any member of the organized militia in the case of a riot, turmoil, breach of the peace, resistance of process, or further service to aid in civil authority, whether the state or federal government, or in a time of immediate public danger, disaster, crisis, or other public emergency. Let me remind you that the housing of these illegal aliens is all being done contrary to U.S. immigration laws. Federal Immigration and National Act, Section 8 states anybody who encourages or introduces an alien to reside in the U.S. is in violation of law and should be punished. Right. The president knows, based on what's been going on for years, these people will not, nor do they plan on complying to the laws of this country. They have already violated our laws. Amen. He is gaming the system, and he's aiding these individuals in a crime by transporting them further into the interior of the U.S. President Obama is failing to uphold his office, to uphold the Constitution and laws enacted by Congress. This has been the norm for this administration. However, in the next couple of months, this could bring immediate health and safety concerns for the family of the thumb. Yeah. It's been reported that these people are from the Middle East, Central and South America, to name a few areas, many having terrorist ties, gang affiliation, and many sick with illness and disease. It's been reported that many of these individuals will be held locally and then released after a short period of time into the general public. This, without question, placed many Michigan families in harm's way. If I know this, and you know this, so should Congress, our state legislators, our governor, and president. Let me read to you the definition of domestic terrorist by the FBI. It involves acts dangerous to human life that violates federal and state law. President Obama is currently in violation of federal immigration laws by not enforcing the laws as enacted. Yeah. Those who are being introduced into the thumb are individuals who are known to have illnesses, disease, gang and terrorist affiliation. This will create a dangerous condition here in the state of Michigan. The second part of domestic terrorists is to intimidate or coerce civilian population or to influence the policies of government by intimidation or coercion. President Obama is attempting to change immigration laws, and he has made it clear in his own statements that if Congress will not act, he would. Obama is transporting these people not back to their countries where they belong, but into every state of the union to create immediate conditions of fear and intimidation throughout the United States to change the political policies of this government. By the very definition of the FBI, President Obama would be classified as a domestic terrorist. Obama wants to change the policies of government. He has created a condition of fear and terror, and he's placing Michigan in harm's way. One of my favorite quotes that outlined the powers of the state to protect themselves comes again from Alexander Hamilton. He said this balance between national and state government ought to be dealt with particular attention, as it is of the utmost importance. It forms a double security to the people. If one state or federal government encroaches on the rights of the other, we will find a powerful protection in the other. Indeed, both the state or the federal government will prevent them from overpassing their constitutional limits. In conclusion, based on the writings of our founders, based on historical events, and the limits placed on our federal government by the U.S. Constitution, it is clear that Michigan's legislators and our governor has the authority and duty invested in them to stand up to the federal government to protect Michigan's residents from the actions of the federal government that violate U.S. constitutions and the laws passed by Congress in order to protect us from the federal government. If Michigan, and mark my words, if Michigan fails to take a stand, harm will come to the communities, and it will be contributed in part to our legislator and our governor for failing to take action. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much, Tom. That's great. Our next speaker is going to be State Senator Mike Green. Mike is the senator for here in the 31st District. We want to welcome Mike Green.
I'm going to open up with a couple of remarks. Hear me out. Don't throw me under the bus until you hear the whole speech, okay? The United States of America was built by immigrants who yearned for freedom and who worked hard to achieve the American dream.
There you go. They're built by founders and settlers. Founders and settlers.
The American people support legal immigration. You all support legal immigration. It's managed effectively, strengthens our society, preserves the safety of our citizens. The reason so many communities are confronted with the problem we're talking about today is, as Tom just spoke, it's a failure at the federal level to secure our borders. Don't blame it on one party, blame it on all of them. A lack of consistent enforcement of immigration law and mixed messages being sent to foreign nationals regarding our immigration policy. This ain't going to be the first crisis any city's going to see in this country before it's over. We'll continue to face this crisis until action is taken in our nation's capital to secure our borders, restore the law to our immigration system, and hold the source nations accountable. The crisis that we're may face, I'm not sure, it's not the fault of Vassar City. It's not the fault of Wolverine Human Services. And it's not the fault of any of our community residents. Wolverine Human Services was approached to provide services fitting with their overall mission during a national border crisis. And I can't fault them for responding to the request. Wolverine has been a good partner with Vassar for a long, long time. Nobody can say they're different to that. And you've accepted them for 20 years, 30 years. The surrounding community has had a good relationship with them for 2 decades, and we should all work to ensure that that continues. Based on my inquiry with the Department of Human Services, Tom, the previous speaker, may disagree with me, there are no current state contract prohibitions that would preclude Wolverine from opening the closed beds to care for their illegal immigrant juvenile population. The facilities would still have to be applicable to state and county health department rules. There's also nothing in existing law state law that prohibits or could be used to prohibit the housing of this population, as I understand it. Again, don't throw me under the bus. We really have not had an opportunity yet to hear what's coming, what they're going to do, and what's going on. That's for tonight. Although as a state legislator, I have no direct oversight of federal agencies. Tonight, I'm urging all agencies and entities involved in this issue to work cooperatively with concerned citizens. Folks in my district, it's all you folks who are taxpayers, parents, grandparents, have legitimate concerns about the impact of housing these individuals on their health, welfare, their education system, and also on the security of our community. All of us have seen TV news reports showing some of these illegal kids walking through towns, just walking through neighborhoods. No place to go, nothing to do, no one overseeing them. I hope that doesn't happen here.
Can't we just put them in the Oval Office? How about that? There's room there.
Good idea.
Public housing.
Good idea.
Support that.
Let the speaker speak. Let the speaker speak, please.
First, I want to find out what it's going to cost us. I could use some money too, maybe you could keep me up.
I understand what you're talking about. Your dollars, whether federal or otherwise, are funding these operations. We're concerned about the criminal and health histories, foreign gang affiliations, the reasons for bringing them all the way to Michigan, and where they will ultimately end up. We'd like to know, you'd like to know the process moving forward. We'd all like to know that if this happens, what will be the protocols in place to protect our community and address our concerns. Although this may be generating a lot of controversy around the country, I've seen it on TV, you've seen it on TV, none of us are happy with it. I'm urging those stakeholders involved in Vassar's situation to demonstrate goodwill to community residents. Let us know what's going on. Be transparent about the process, and most importantly, to share information with the public and keep you engaged from this point forward. I'd also like to say that relationship that we have with Pioneer has been good over the last year, as I said that earlier. But they have to be open to us and let us know what they're doing and share with us and give us options and give us a voice in the decisions that's being made. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Green. We'd like to remind everybody that when we have speakers up here, what we're doing, what's going on here tonight, folks, this is America. This is people coming together. We're different. There's a lot of different viewpoints here. And if there's yelling and going back and forth, we're not going to get this through. We're trying to just get the information out there to you. So if we could ask that you let the speaker speak, there'll be other times to address it. But right now, this is an informational meeting. And again, we're just trying to find out some information. Now, our next speaker, we had a little bit of a change, but our next speaker is Mr. Derek McCree. He's Senior Vice President of Wolverine Human Services.
Explain how this is not trafficking in children. No, sorry. We are under military attack. If you can't tell me to be quiet, you're under military attack. All this is a psyop. You're under military attack.
He did the same thing the other night. He did it one day at the protest. He got right in Jess's face. Jess was afraid he was going to hit him. He had to leave. Yeah. He was flailing his arms on the arms. And we had the news didn't focus on him when they did our story.
She didn't see the paper. Okay, good evening, folks. My name is Derek McCree. I'm the Senior Vice President for Wolverine Human Services. And today I'm going to try to explain how this process begun with Wolverine Human Services and what our plan of action is and the steps we've already taken to be proactive to involve the community, which we started with the leadership in the community, and I will walk through this process. First of all, as Senator Green indicated, Wolverine Human Services has been a part of this community for 22 years. And of those 22 years, we can't say that we've had a perfect track record, but we have had a couple of incidents here and there. And as we've had those incidents, we've stepped up to the plate, taken responsibility, and any damages that were done, we went straight to the community, whoever was impacted, and made sure things were right with them. Because we are in the business of dealing with risky kids, and it's not always going to be easy. We have about 145 to 150 kids on our Vassar campus at this particular point, and those kids come from about 40 different counties across the state of Michigan. A lot of the misconception is that all the kids are from Wayne County or all urban areas. Actually, Wolverine Human Services has serviced all 83 counties within the state of Michigan. So we have a very diverse population, and we work with all kids.
Were they sentenced from the court to get there?
And so what I'm going to do tonight, and I know there'll probably be some questions blurted out here and there. So the tactic that I tried to take was, I've talked to over a dozen media inquiries over the past week, and I've been asked several questions that were raised by concerned citizens. And so what I've tried to do is lay out some of those questions that you may ask me, and then I'll be able to answer those questions as I present them. First and foremost, just want to continue to reiterate, our partnership in the past 22 years, that we are included and involved in things, i.e. the River Fest, the Petunia planting, the Harvest Fest, the Keep Vassar Beautiful project, the Pumpkin Roll, and we often share our facility with the community where the football team has come out and done camps on our properties. We also open our gymnasium to the basketball team and open our facilities to the community to use at no cost because we want to continue to show our support as a partner. So I think that we think that our track record speaks for itself in terms of our commitment to this community to provide excellent services and to be supportive and stand behind you and hopefully have folks stand behind us as well. Okay, so how did we get involved in this process? Wolverine Human Services was contacted by an agency called Heartland Alliance out of Chicago. They sent an email out in early June, approximately June 5th, inquiring if there were Michigan facilities that were able and willing to look into taking in these children, unaccompanied refugee children. We were intrigued a little bit by it, but not quite certain. So we made the phone call to the individuals at Heartland Alliance to inquire, tell us what these kids look like, what is this all about? They then returned the phone call on Monday. I had dialogue with a gentleman named Sid Moan. He's the president of Heartland Alliance. He said, if your agency is interested, we can talk to the federal government and determine whether or not there's a possibility to even move forward. So this was Monday, June 9th, I believe is the date. June 10th, I received a call in the afternoon. Mr. Sid Moan called me back and said, hey, we gotten permission verbally from the government to move forward. Are you still interested? I said, we're interested in learning more. He said, okay, that's good. And so he connected me to his director and executive director of residential services. They came out to our facility on June 11th, which would have been Wednesday. So this is going on very fast. It was an inquiry, then boom, 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 it goes into them coming to look at our facilities. They seen the facilities and said, these facilities look suitable. How soon can you have them up? I said, well, it would take us a little bit of time because our facilities are no longer licensed, and we would need to walk through the process and do a little bit of renovation, and we need to talk to some folks and get some things going, but somewhere around 6 weeks or so, we should be able to have our facility ready. Doesn't mean that we will be ready 100%. We need to look at staff and other things like that. So we walked through the process with them. On June 27th, we're still in negotiations with Heartland. We went to Chicago, me and two of my colleagues went to Chicago to take a look at their facilities. I wanted to look these children in the eye. I wanted to see what kind of services that we would do. I wanted to conceptualize exactly what we would be asked to do. So as we did this visit and we walked through and did these things, we came back and had a meeting and we discussed it and said, we have to have no uncertainties here. Is there any doubt that we can provide services to these children. And the consensus within the room was unanimously, absolutely, we can provide children or services to these children. So, at that point, we decided if we think we can do this, we need to involve the community. We sent out private invitations to approximately 10 to 15 city local leaders from the city council, the mayor, the city manager, the chief of police, the superintendent, and to name others, among others. And we asked them to come out to our facility so we could have an information meeting to discuss this with them. So as we did that, we thought the meeting was fairly productive. Again, we're not trying to hide the football here. We wanted to make sure that we involve people. We weren't prepared to come to this collective group to talk about these things because we wanted to know if we even had support at that level before we took the next steps. So that's how we became involved. That's kind of in a nutshell. I'm certain that there will be additional questions about that, and again, that's for a later time for the sake of brevity. But trying to be informative, I'm trying to walk through these questions. Who are the children, and where do they come from? The children, they're fleeing from harm's way in their country of origins and extreme poverty. These children come from Central America. Let me backtrack for half a second, because there are children that are crossing the border that are not just from Central America. There are from other parts of of the world. And but our restrictive approach was that we can only deal with bilingual Spanish-English type clients, and that we did not want to take kids from China and other areas of the country of the world. So we are within those guidelines, and they've agreed to do that. So anyways, these children are fleeing from harm's way, and the children that we're looking at are from Central America, which is from Guatemala, El Salvador, or Honduras. Those children are the ones that we would primarily be focused on. So I'm not certain of your name, sir, Mr. Waza? Yeah, he educated us with a lot of information about the laws. From my understanding of the law, as I've read it regarding minors, okay, when children from non-bordering countries enter our country, the law as it reads today is that the Border Patrol has to possess custody, detain the individual for at least 72 hours, observe them, make certain they do some screening, and then they have to refer them to the Office of Refugee Resettlement. It's called ORR. That's the law that I understand that they have to do. So that's the process in which, where these children come from. The ages of the children that we can accept are between 12 and 17. We cannot go beyond that age because our state license only permits us to treat children between the ages of 12 and 17. So we will not get children that are over that age or under that age. At this point, we're looking at all males, and that's what the contract will be for. All right, we'll keep on track here. If there is a child with a known criminal history or known dangerous affiliations, they maintain that child in detention, and that child does not come to what we're identifying as shelter services across the United States. Those children would not be allowed to come forward. That's what I was told. Who pays for these services? Well, we all pay for these services by way of federal taxes that we pay. But I just wanted to clarify that the Michigan tax base would not forfeit any monies towards this project or these services. The federal tax base covers all of the funding for this. So yes, I pay federal taxes. We all pay federal taxes in this room. One could argue it comes out of taxpayers' dollars. We're not disputing that. I'm just putting out the information so that people will be clear on the fact that it's not coming just from the Michigan tax base, and it's going to hurt folks from that perspective. What services would we provide for these kids, and how does that look? Wolverine Human Services is looking at a contract to provide shelter services. I'll explain a little bit more in depth there, for 60 youth, with the potential that that could be 120 youth, because we have 2 open facilities. If permissible and things go as planned, then yes, we could serve up to 120. Initially, it will be 60. When the kids come into our shelter service, the care we provide will be medical care. Immunizations and physicals will be done outside of the screening for medical issues at the border when the kids are detained, we would get the child, put them through all immunizations, and do a physical within the first 48 hours of arrival to our facility. And that's the federal guidelines. Our likelihood would be, much sooner than 48 hours. We want to make certain that all kids get immunizations right away. Trauma counseling, again, these kids are escaping harm's way and coming through horrendous conditions to get to this country, and so we would provide counseling for these children to make certain that they have a chance to kind of release some of the trauma that they experienced on the route. We will provide life skills development, which would be proper hygiene. Many of these children have not seen running water, flushing toilets, things of that nature. So we would provide proper development for hygiene and proper etiquette within the United States in general, just to learn how things are supposed to be done. Education will be provided, teaching these kids ESL, English as a secondary language, to make certain that they get some of the basic communications, with the bathroom, things of that nature, being able to read. So we would focus in on that with education. That would be provided by the Vassar Public Schools, and to our knowledge and the research that we've done thus far, that the students that come in, that will be here on count day, does go towards the student population, student pupil count, and will actually aid and assist the Vassar school system. As our current facility does too, and I believe that the budget that came out this past year, there was approximately about a $300,000 surplus from the Vassar campus schools that went into the general schools to help fund and aid other areas as well. This also assists and aids in that area. The length of stay for these clients will be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So the kids will come in, we'll provide these essential services, very basic stuff. This is what shelter work's about. Wolverine Human Services has done shelter work for the past 20 plus years in the city of Detroit and Wayne County, and we have always we've dealt with kids that were chained to basement stairs and not allowed to come upstairs, didn't know how to hold utensils, didn't know how to wash themselves, things of that nature. So our agency is equipped to deal with children that have come from adverse circumstances in shelter services. So 2 to 4 weeks is the length of stay. Then that child would rotate out. And how they rotate out is that in the process of the 2 to 4 weeks, while we're working on some of the basic life skills, the Heartland Alliance is responsible for reunification. So their job is to identify a relative within the United States, somewhere, wherever that may be, in order for them to go and reunite with a parent. Some of these kids have not seen their parents for several years, and so they would reunite with their parent, and then they would go through the process of immigration courts. That is completely out of our hands, and so we really won't have a lot of follow-up on that, but our care is for 2 to 4 weeks, and we move them forward. In addition to that, they'll be doing basic things like recreation. Will these youth integrate into the Vassar community? The answer to that is they will not attend local schools in the classrooms with other children. All the school will be done right on the Vassar campus, provided by the Vassar Alternative Education Program. And the children are also not eligible for employment. They will not be able to come into this economy and get jobs of any capacity. So what are the potential benefits to this local economy? Well, currently, with a 60-bed contract, it creates 55 jobs right away. And if we increase that to 120 beds, that number goes up to approximately 115 jobs. And the reason why it's just not double to 110 is because when you add additional staff, you typically have to add ancillary staff, like HR needs additional support and things of that nature. So it would create approximately 115 new jobs. Obviously, with the amount of people coming into the community, and increases the local economy, with people spending more monies at the local businesses. Right now, this week, we've hired 12 people from the city of Vassar. Approximately 25%, which is 52 staff, of our staffing on the Vassar campus is Vassar staff, Vassar community residents that live right here. And we think that we're very proud of that. We'd like to see that number increase, but we think 25% is a respectable number. and we're definitely open to hiring more. We understand the citizens have concerns and ask many questions, and we ask some of those same exact questions that you guys are asking throughout the day when we started this venture to determine whether or not we could do it. And when we decided that we could do this without a doubt of certainty, we decided that we would start moving forward and trying to educate people and letting folks know, starting with the local leaders and making the approach to methodically insert the information. Until today, I wasn't able to release the name Heartland Alliance, the contractor that we're working with, because they were resistant initially because we hadn't gotten that far into the contract piece. So now, as information's gone on over the past week, I've learned more information, I've been able to share more information. So if you see any inconsistencies or things that, wow, he didn't say this that day or whatever the case is, trust me, I'm being very methodical and releasing information as I get it, as I'm allowed to release it. And lastly, what benefit does this have to the local economy? I think when I spoke with Marge this week, she came out and she was very inspiring to me because she said that, you know, this forum is to educate people. This forum is to give people the opportunity to hear the whole thing, and then you can make a decision, whether you're for it or against it. It's completely your decision. That's why we love America. We can make our own choices, and we have freedom to those choices and freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want to say about this. But it does give Vassar the opportunity to set the tone for the nation, to say a community and its partner can come together through adverse circumstances and figure out ways to work through things and come to some form of agreement to provide services to children that are in need. Our agency's mission has been helping children become victors. We've prided ourselves over years of working with children and creating programs for children in need. People come to us for solutions across the state to say, hey, we got a kid that has this issue or that issue. What can you do? And then we start marketing that. We start going out and trying to feel out what kind of issues are out there. Do we have similar concerns in other communities? And when we find that, then we put together a specialization program. That's why we still exist. That's why we've still been strong in this community. And we will continue to stand behind helping children become victors, and we'll do everything in our power to help any child in need at any given time. I understand that's very controversial, and a lot of people may not completely agree with that, but for myself and for the agency that has worked on this mission for so many years, and I've been coming to Vassar personally for 21 years, up and down 46, and we used to live in Flint, came all over the place to get here in this community. And I'm proud to be a part of this community. And every time you guys have an event, whatever, we hesitate not to support you, to provide services, whatever we can do. And we'll continue to do that because we're committed to being partners with you. And we will educate you and inform you with every step of the way that as we move forward in this project, so that you're advised and informed. I know you're not going to agree with everything, but we can't make everyone happy. But if we do get permissions to move forward with this project, then our intentions are to do so, but not without making certain that we have support from the vast majority of folks and as well as the local leadership. Thank you very much.
Aiding and abetting illegal immigration, willingly to line their pockets.
All right, our next speaker is going to be Mr. Dan Surgeon, and he's a Vassar City Council member.
I want to thank Derek. I think he did a pretty good job of trying to clear things up. We were called as city councilmen to a meeting at Pioneer Work and Learn, as he said. I think it was July the 1st. And as we sat there, we were pretty much told, this is what we are going to do. We don't need any input from you. We don't need your permission. So when you demonstrate in front of City Hall, you're demonstrating at the wrong place. You should have been out at Pioneer Work and Learn, because we have nothing to say about this. They are an independent corporation funded by the state, funded by the federal government, and they told us this is what we're going to do. Now, what Derek said was pretty much exactly the same thing that he told us at that meeting out there. That they were going to have males 14 to 17. They'd be here 2 to 3 weeks moved out to foster homes, to family members, so forth. 6 hours of structured education, paid for by the federal government. They would not come to Vassar schools. Medically cleared before they get here, and then more medical work done as they're here. One thing I want to say about Derek and the other 2 men that were with him. I know Derek Cree, I know Paul Whitney, I know Chuck Fabro. And if these 3 men tell us something, we can believe it. I believe them. I trust them. I don't know about the people that own Pioneer Work and Learn, the Wallachs. I don't know them. I don't know their board of directors. I don't know what's in their hearts. But I know what these 3 guys stand for. And they live here. They're part of us. And so we can trust them. But just let me reiterate one more thing. If Barack Obama was a president, we wouldn't be in this mess that we're into now. This whole thing belongs to Barack Obama. And I'm so sick of listening to his lying mouth on television every other day. And so let's put the blame where it belongs, right over there in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Tamara Michigan. Tamara Murray. Mary.
Can everybody hear me? Hey, we have some energy in here. All right. Well, as you probably know, I'm here to talk against this. And I can contradict almost everything that Mr. McCree stated. So I'm here to tell you what those immigrants are entitled to, what they're not. Okay, I'm going to give you some facts tonight, where the funding is coming from. I know it sounds really nice what everybody said, but since when have we been able to trust the federal government? Right? It's the federal government's responsibility to protect our borders, not to dump all these kids in the city's lap. The children that are involved here are only pawns. They're a game to control our nation. It's an invasion, nothing less than an invasion. Salvadoran government and Honduras government have placed ads in their local papers telling their young people, go to America, they're going to take care of you, and they're not going to deport you. This is an orchestrated effort between all the South American countries. This happening is also an opportunity to abuse not only the children, but us as taxpayers. If this program is allowed to proceed, it will never end. Government entities, once they create something, they never exterminate it. It's going to be a perpetual source of income, and for government agencies and committees in the federal government.
Votes.
Once additional staff are hired, those people will never be let go. They're always going to find them jobs to do and keep this going. Wolverine says we shouldn't worry because the money is coming from the federal government. Where do they get their money from?
Right here, right here.
Okay, I did some research, and Michigan Human Services, our funding is 30% from the state of Michigan. The other 70% comes from the federal government. This year, our Senate and our representatives voted to decrease funding for human services in the amount of 7%. And how does that make sense? They're decreasing the amount, and they're trying to force all these people on us. Okay. There's going to be fraud in the Michigan HS, there's fraud now. Just this year in Detroit, they revoked the funding for Detroit Human Services because of fraud and misappropriation of funds. If this is just on this level, what's going to happen when we bring more of this to our city? Wolverine says it's okay to increase spending, even if it is federal tax dollars. But why do they have the right to saddle us with the money? Tax-funded programs that will be available to the families that are reunited with their children include, but are not limited to, food stamps, subsidized housing, medical care, and education. Last year, as a nation, we spent almost $500 billion on Medicare and Medicaid, and these people will fall into those categories. Bringing these children here is against federal law. If a person wants sanctuary or to become a refugee, they, by law, are required to request it in their home country. Also, if a child flees their country because of distress, they are immediately, as soon as they step foot on the neighboring country, before they get here, they are supposed to request sanctuary and refugee status. Legally, these children cannot be granted refugee status. We've heard a lot of talk in the media. They're kind of trying to make us think they're refugees by they keep using that term. Under refugee status, people are only obliged to that if they have persecution from their home government. It doesn't say from drug cartels or crime. We have all that here. Under the guidelines of the refugee program, those immigrants are coming here now and saying, we have crime back home, we have to come here. That does not fall under the jurisdiction of refugee. And they're doing that for a reason. It's going to cost you, the taxpayer, more money to take care of these refugees as it would if they were just an illegal immigrant. I talked to Numbers USA today about this, and this is their statement. I'm going to read it, so I'm not plagiarizing. When the children are delivered unaccompanied to their parents in the U.S., there are absolutely cases of DHS participating in a lawless activity. Parents living illegally in the U.S. have been paying human traffickers to smuggle their children into the U.S. to join them. Rather than hold both the trafficker and the parents accountable, DHS is completing delivery of the children from the border to the parents inside of the United States at our cost. Our president is asking for $3.7 billion to be appropriated to the Department of Human Services. Okay, they tell you that they're going to increase border security, and it's going to be stopped. They're not going to let any more in. I brought with me a whole list, copies for you guys to take. It tells you exactly where all of that money is going, what organization it's going to be appropriated to, and I'm going to go over some of that with you right now. Oh, and under Medicaid also, I forgot to mention, when it goes back to the federal government, that's funded by the U.S. Treasury, by 2 grants, and that money is not to be used for anything else. Sorry, I forgot that. The breakdown of the $3.7 billion requested by Obama for DHS additional funding. Then there is an administrator's request for more money for the Department of Homeland Security, which handles border enforcement. Rather than deport the new illegal immigrants, DHS will get $1.5 billion. Of that money, $433 million of it will go to Border Patrol to help the children with their care, with their lodging, for their food. If they need their diapers changed, this is increased funding for that. $329 million will be used for operational costs, including the care of minors, transportation of minors, and family groups. Now this falls under, if they were classified as a refugee, they're entitled to free transportation around the world via your tax dollars to find their parents and bring them back here and live. $35 million will go to build new detention facilities in Nogales and McAllen, Texas. $29 million for 180 new border security task force, which is good. But compared to the larger amounts going for other things, of the $1.1 billion going to ICE, $995 million will go for operational costs to include care, feeding, and transportation costs of unaccompanied family groups. Of the $995 million, $779 million will go for over 6,000 family unit beds inside these centers. $109 will go to support increased efforts to detect and disrupt efforts to smuggle children into the country. $23 million for 100 enforcement and removal operations. Now, when they tell you that this is a temporary situation, let's think about this logically. Why would they bring these to all these communities 1,000 miles from where they are? Educate them, give them housing, food, and like Mr. McCree said, life skills. Why would they do that, reunite them with the families, and then send them back to Mexico? Does that make sense? No. They're not telling us the whole truth. And I doubt if Mr. McCree knows the whole truth. If he talked only to the federal government, of course, they're going to make it sound as good as it can be so that they will take these children in. And City Council says they have nothing that they can do. Our governor said the same thing. This week in Texas, the City Council in League City, Texas, passed a resolution to ban illegal immigrants from their city. Now, no one can violate that. They're not allowed to bring any illegal minors in here. We could do the same thing here. We don't have to stop. Even if Wolverine decides to do this, we could stop it 2 months down the road. We have to be persistent, and that's why we had to jump on this the way we did. Another reason for this event is not just information for us. We hope that across the country, people are going to see what we're doing and do the same thing. It's time to put the responsibility back into the lap of the administration, not into our laps or our pockets. I only had 20, but I'll post this on the MICE Facebook page, Michiganders for Immigration Control and Enforcement. It'll be on there tonight, okay? Thank you very much.
Hi, Lou. Will you come up and have the gentleman introduce you, please?
I'll raise the mic back just a little bit here.
Hello, everybody. I just want to tell you how proud I am to be a citizen of the Vassar area, to see a crowd like this of concerned citizens coming out to voice their opinions. Thank you for being involved. This is what our government should look like. People in control. So thank you all for showing up. Now, I want to tell you a few things. First of all, I live in Tuscola Township, been there for 11 years. I have a small business that I run out of my house. I'm very concerned about our community, as you all are, or you would not be here. I'm not here because I am some redneck rube from a small town in the Michigan Thumb. I'm not here because I'm a racist. I'm not here because I'm an old white guy. I'm here because I'm concerned about what's happening and the decisions the federal government is making that's going to affect me and my grandchildren. I have raised 4 children and 5 grandchildren. The 5 grandchildren go to Vassar schools. 2 are graduated. 1 serves as a Lance Corporal in the United States Marines. I'm concerned for them and their future, not only in our country, but in our community. That's why I'm here. Now, I'm not opposed to legalized or legal immigration. We have a system in this country, and we have a set of laws that are intended to be followed. Yet we have an administration that refuses to follow those laws. What would happen to any one of us if we refused to follow the law of the land? Do you think we'd just be talking to somebody about it? I don't think so. I think action would be taken. What I'm opposed to is I'm opposed to illegal immigrants storming our borders, demanding to be moved to the front of the line. That's what I'm opposed to. I don't hate children. I have a total of 8 grandchildren, 5 of whom lived with me. I love children. I do not lack compassion. I have compassion for my fellow man. But that compassion needs to start at home with our people here. We have people right here in Vassar, in the state of Michigan, throughout our country who need help and need assistance, and we can't find money to help them, but we're going to spend $3.7 billion on people who came to this country illegally? Is that America? No. No, it's not. So we need to do something about it. I don't hate Wolverine. They do a great service for our community. They employ people. They help kids in need, our kids from our country right now. I don't mind that my tax dollars support that. How many more of our own kids could we help there with those tax dollars that seem to be only allocatable if we use them on illegal aliens? What's that about? We have veterans, we have families right here in our community who need help. We don't have the money to help them, but yet we have money to ship people 3,000 miles from the border and house them here and take care of their needs. We've got that money, but we can't help our own.
How about the veterans?
And the veterans, absolutely correct. Absolutely right. So here's what I came to say. You know, I came here to say that I, for one, demand that our federal and government enforce existing immigration laws and secure the border. I came here to learn the truth about how this situation is going to affect the citizens of Vassar and my grandchildren. Truth is something that seems to be very difficult to find nowadays from our government. Very difficult, if not completely non-existent. Let me give you an example of that. We have a 5th District Congressman, Dan Kildee, who just yesterday came out in the press and said there was no intention of sending any of these children to this area. How can he be that misinformed, or is he intentionally lying? One or the other. My point exactly. How can you trust a government that is constantly giving you information that is incorrect? So, the ongoing actions of our federal government bribing our state and local governments with our own tax money has to be resisted by concerned citizens like yourselves. And I thank you all for being here and supporting this cause. Thank you.
Okay, our last speaker would be Meredith Quinlan. Is Meredith here? Okay, I'm assuming not. Well, folks, look around. This is America. I don't live in Vassar, but Vassar is any town USA. This could be my town, Lapeer. This could be Kalamazoo. This could be Marquette. What has gone on? People in this room have all kinds of different opinions, and nobody has been informed. The government, federal, state, at every turn, you're not being informed. No matter what your viewpoint is, you have a right to know what's going on. Now, as Lou discussed, just yesterday on Congressman Kilday's website, they put a statement out that totally contradicts what we heard here tonight. I myself contacted the governor's office yesterday. This has been very troubling to me to see this going on. I've got a lot of friends in the area, in the community, and it's just was very upsetting. It was even more upsetting when after I talked to the governor's constituency office, and they told me that this is a deal between Wolverine and the federal government. This is not a state issue. This is not a state of Michigan issue. So this is what the governor's office told me. Now, some of you may have better luck. You were given a contact information sheet tonight. I implore you, call, burn up the phones, contact these individuals, and demand some information. Whatever your point of view, whether you're for this or against this, you, as American citizens, as Michigan citizens, as Vassar citizens, have a right to know what's going on. Don't be taken for granted, and don't be taken advantage of. There's legitimate questions. How is this going to affect our schools? How is this going to affect our economy? How is this going to affect, what are their medical issues? People have questions. You good folks have questions. Demand that they get answered, because once it happens here, you can rest assured it will continue in other areas. Vassar is any town USA. I can't thank you on behalf of the concerned citizens folks for coming out, taking time to be a part of this, for being respectful. We do have one more speaker.
Yeah.
And that is, she's here.
His name is Chad Favreau.
Chad Favreau.
And some of you may know him. He has volunteered to speak. He's a great guy. Come on up and give him a hand.
I really wasn't prepared to do this, so just kind of bear with me. I'm just concerned. I'm just a concerned citizen like you guys. Okay, can everybody hear me now? Yeah. All right. At the end of the day, we're all neighbors here, so whatever happens in here and the differences of opinions, I mean, this is close to me because my brother was behind me, and I don't agree with this. So, but I'm not going to go be mad at him because it's in Washington to let us down on this. It's our elected officials, right? What we need to do is we need to organize, right? That's what I do for a living. I organize with the UAW. I'm an elected official. Just got back from the Constitutional Convention. It's what I do. If we want to fight this, let's fight it right. Let's not fight with our neighbors. Let's not fight with our family, because everybody's got their opinion, and I know I do. And I'm not for this, but they're here, and I feel like pardon my French, I feel like we got a shit sandwich when we're eating it. So, and it's not good. So, but let's not fight with each other. Let's do the right thing. Let's organize. Get with your, write Dan Kilday. I wrote him this week twice. My son wrote Mr. Green here last week, so I know you teach your kids the right way to do things, right? That's what we're about. I'm the scoutmaster here in Vassar. I'm, you know what I mean? I'm the president of the Gleaners. I like to do stuff in our community. I don't like to see us fight like this. So at the end of the day, we are Vassar. We have prevailed in the past. We're not happy with what's going on. Nobody is. We want to live the American dream for our kids, not some kids that are dropped off in our lap. I'm not for that. But at the end of the day, do the right thing. You know, get the right people involved. Let's organize. Let's do it the right way, right? Because sit here and cut people off and we're trying to talk, we don't sound intelligent at all. We sound ignorant, and we're not an ignorant community. We've prevailed in the past in the midst of travesties in our community, and we all pull together, and that's why I've never left the community. And you know, I've lived here my whole life, and I didn't plan on ever moving. So I really don't have anything more to say. That's one of the.
One more time, we should have one more speaker, and we're hoping that she was running late. We were hoping that she could make it. While we're waiting, a lot of good folks put into this. You know, this being able to be here tonight wasn't free. There are some cans and some jars going around that if you could spare a couple bucks or something to help us cover what it costs to be here tonight, that would be great. Well, folks, in conclusion, I don't think it's going to be here. In conclusion, thank you for coming out. Thank you for caring enough about your community to get involved. Would like to mention Marge Phillips. I'm sure you guys, a lot of folks know her. She's got a heart of gold. She's worked really hard to be able to put this through. So when you see her, you can just thank her, let her know how much it's meant. And again, thanks to everybody for coming out, and travel safely home.